Hello and welcome back to another episode of Strong Collectors Comics. Today, we're going to be taking a look at my personal favorite rogues gallery in all of comic books, and those are Spider-Man villains. Now, normally Dakota and I do our rankings together on our tier list, so you can go back and check those out if you'd like. However, we thought it'd be fun to split these ones up, so you can see one from Dakota and one from me, and let us know what you think, as always. So let's get started. So here we have our list. Of course, you got your S tier on top, all the way down to your A, B, C, D. And let's just get started. So one that I'm going to go with right away is going to be Shocker. Now, I've always had a soft spot for Shocker. I think he's usually relegated to kind of henchman, third tier status. I read a fanfic actually a couple years ago from Max Landis, who did the movie Chronicle, some other projects, and it was kind of cool because it talked about Shocker basically trying to become a hero, and it played into how smart he'd actually be to engineer the technology that he does have, and those gauntlets and all that stuff are pretty involved. So personally, I think he never really gets totally utilized how he should. But I am a Shocker fan. That said, though, he'll still probably go. I'm gonna give him a B for now. We'll see if that changes. Another one that I want to take a look at is Venom. Now, Venom, I feel a little complicated about just because appeared first as a villain, and then pretty quickly shift to the anti-hero, and I've always liked him more in the anti-hero role than the straight-up villain role for Venom. I think there's a lot more cool things they've done with him as more of a hero. So I don't really love him as a villain, but I do like Venom a lot, and I guess for that reason, but he's so iconic. I can't put him in S tier just because, like I said, I don't think of him as a top Spidey villain, but as like a Spidey character. This might be controversial, but I'm going to put B. Again, nothing against Venom. I love Venom, but I don't usually like seeing him as a villain. But you can't have Venom without Carnage. And Carnage, I'm going to bump up a little higher. I think Carnage is definitely the better symbiote villain. I think with the whole serial killer, Cletus Cassidy meets symbiote vibe is kind of a perfect synthesis. I loved remember the video game Maximum Carnage as a kid, read that story as well. And one that I'm always excited to see different stuff they can do with Carnage. I would love to see him use, I guess I didn't really love him in the live action movie, but I like Carnage as a villain. I'm gonna go with A. Not quite S tier for me, greatest of all time, but I'd say he's decently accurate for me. Let's also look at, I'm going to go with an S tier, obviously, Doc Ock. Doc Ock, one of my all-time favorites. I just think he's such a unique, kind of weird bad guy. You got the science element, and then one of my personal favorite storylines, Superior Spider-Man. I really like what they did with him there. Again, going more anti-hero. And, of course, Spider-Man 2, one of the all-time great superhero films, and I think Doc Ock was perfect in that. So I'm going to go S tier for sure with Doc Ock. One that I'm going to put pretty low here is going to be Boomerang. I know there might be some Boomerang apologists out there. Just never really loved him. Kind of more of a background character for me. I'm going to say the same thing with the White Rabbit. If you feel differently, please let me know. That's where she's one. Black Cat, again, another one kind of like Venom. I like the character Black Cat. I don't think works super well as a villain. I guess there's situations where she could kind of like team up and do that kind of thing. So nothing against Black Cat. If you're going to put her as a villain, I don't know. I just don't like her as a villain, so I'm going to go D because I don't think Black Cat should be considered a villain. Yeah, well, she kind of crosses. Okay, we'll go C. We'll go C with that, and stick with Black Cat there. Chameleon, I do like. I think is another cool idea for a bad guy if you know how to write them and how to utilize them. I'm going to throw him in the we'll go B for now. And then moving on to one that I personally liked a lot as a kid was Spot. We recently saw him in the Across the Spider-Verse, and I thought was pretty cool there. But I think Spot is a cool idea for a villain. I think in comic books hasn't really been utilized as much as I would like, but I think he's got a lot of potential, much like Shocker. So I'm going to put him in a B, and with that, room for improvement if the right person came along. A person that I do really like is Jackal. I'm going to put Jackal in A just because I think he brings a lot of cool elements with the cloning, the technology, of course, all of the Ben Reilly stuff. I know that got a bit convoluted. He's created a lot of chaos and problems in Peter Parker's life, and I think that alone warrants a decently high rating for him. And I'm a sucker for Ben Reilly, so if we didn't have Jackal, we wouldn't have had Ben Reilly. So I got to give him credit for that. One that I'm going to put, I think I'm going to go, do I go S? I think I'm going to go S for Kraven. I really love Kraven. Of course, Kraven's Last Hunt, iconic storyline. And I remember as a kid thinking that one was I think even by today's standards, pretty dark for a Spider-Man story. And I think when done well, you can do some pretty cool things with Kraven. I really liked him in the newer Spider-Man game. I think the new Kraven movie is going to be a bit of a flop. Maybe not, though. Kraven might go down to A, though, but I'm putting him there for now. I don't have Dakota to tell me I'm nuts for doing something, so we'll see where we go with that. One that I will put in A, I do love the Lizard. I think Lizard brings another cool element of the science gone amok for Spider-Man villains, the whole duality with Doc Connors. And I loved him in the cartoon. Spider-Man Torment is a great storyline with the Lizard that I really enjoy and think you can do a lot of cool stuff. I like the more horror elements with Lizard, but I'm a sucker for horror type things. Another villain that I really like is going to be Mysterio. Again, just as I'm looking at these Spidey villains, they are all pretty weird. Like they're out there, but I like that. Dakota, maybe he'd say I'm nuts for going S tier with Mysterio, but yeah, I think he's a great bad guy. Cool design and the whole illusion element, very fun. I think there's a lot of cool stories and ideas and directions you can go with Mysterio. So I'm going to put him up there. Again, maybe we'll reconsider along here. Another one that I'm going to put maybe a little lower, but just because I like him, I'm going to go C for Swarm. I've always liked the idea of Swarm. Another one of those really weird characters that I feel hasn't totally been utilized. But again, now maybe I'm just brainstorming what I'd want to do with the Spider-Man stories, use some of these guys. But Swarm is pretty fun, so I'm going to give him a C. The next one I'm going to look at is going to be Tombstone. Now, I've never been super into the outside of Kingpin, like crime boss, street level Spidey guys. I think there's some interesting things you could do. Tombstone is probably the one I see being used the most when he's around. But I'm still I'll give him a B. I'll put Tombstone there. Hammerhead is going to go a little lower for me. Is he a C or is he a D? I'll give him a C just because it's again, there's some cool stuff you can do with the street level element. Never seen too much done with Hammer, but I don't like him as much as Swarm. I'm going to go D for Hammerhead. Sorry for you Hammerhead fans out there, but that's where he's going. Tarantula is going to be a D for me. Never really did much for me. Same thing with Beetle. Man-Wolf, cool. I like my monsters and horror. I think it's fun that he's connected to J. Jonah Jameson. And I'm going to give him a C. But Man-Wolf in C category. Electro is going to go... I'm going to go Electro in A for me. I think he's a fun bad guy. Always neat to see him show up, but not really much of a planner, mover, shaker, and producer, that kind of thing. So he's going to go A. in that sense. Doppelganger, always liked the design of as a kid. Kind of a cool monster Spider-Man. He was cool in Maximum Carnage. But again, just kind of seems to show up randomly. But he's kind of fun, so I'll throw him in the C category. Hydro Man. I do like Hydro Man. I'm going to put him in B. B for Hydro Man. Sandman's going to go a little higher, though. I'm going to put Sandman A. And then we're going to go... Let's see what'll be next. Vulture. Vulture is a character that I like quite a bit. I like the different versions you can do with him. Again, just kind of another weird guy. He's got that goofy quality to him. But I think depending on how he's being used as a character, he can be less ridiculous and kind of somewhat more compelling. So, is it generous to give Vulture an A? Probably. But is he low enough to be a B? But then he's not quite in that. See, this is where I need Dakota to help me sort some of this stuff out. I'm curious to hear because I don't know what Dakota went with. But he'd probably put Vulture lower. But he's a classic. I'm going to give him an A. Say what you want. This is my list. I'll do what I want. Rhino. Rhino's going to be an A for me, too. Again, not much of a planner, but I think he's definitely iconic enough of a character. And I remember I really loved there was a storyline. It was like a one-off Spider-Man Tangled Web where he gets an operation and becomes super intelligent, similar to the book Flowers for Algernon. And it's a pretty cool Rhino story. So if you want to Google Rhino, Tangled Web, Spider-Man becomes smart, maybe you can find that on Unlimited or something. But that's a fun read and kind of a cool story about Rhino that I liked. Scorpion. I like Scorpion, but I'm going to go with a B for him. I guess maybe if we included Mac Gargan when he becomes Venom. Now, that was a cool version of him as a bad guy. So if he was on here, he'd probably go a little higher for me. I thought that was a cool direction to take both Venom and Scorpion. But if we're talking just Scorpion, he's going to be in that mid-tier range for me. Prowler. Cool suit. I like his suit. And design is nice. Kind of that Batman-y, vigilante vibe. But he's going to go... I'll give him a C, because I think there have been some fun, cool things you can do with Prowler. But not too high on my villain list there. I have similar feelings on Jack-O-Lantern. I like him just because he's got a flaming pumpkin head. I mean, that's cool. But he's going to go in a C category for me. Molten Man's going to be a D. Never did much for me. Same with, I think we got Silvermane here. I'm going to go D with him. Calypso. I'm most familiar with her from Spider-Man Torment, which was a cool way to use her, kind of controlling the lizard. There was some Kraven resurrection there. But I'm going to throw her in the... we'll go C category. An all-time great is going to have to be Green Goblin. He's an S for sure. And I think the most iconic Spider-Man bad guy. Done a lot of damage in Spider-Man's life. And even if he's not written well, I always love seeing Green Goblin and Norman Osborn show up. So they're going to go there for me. One that is going to be a little lower, probably Hobgoblin. I most knew him coming up as the Spider-Man animated series guy because they couldn't use Green Goblin. Kind of a bit of a lesser goblin to me, but Hobgoblin can be cool. Maybe he's not quite a B with these guys. I don't know if he's on low. I'm going to throw him there as a B. That's where I'll... we're going to stick with a B for him. One that I really do like is going to be Morlun. And I loved his initial appearance in the Straczynski Spider-Man stuff. Kind of more of that Terminator-like bad guy just can't be stopped. And the whole essence of breaking down some of the bigger mythology of Spider-Man was cool. I even liked him in the the original Into the Spider-Verse or just Spider-Verse comics, where it's him and like the family of inheritors, and they kind of go a little more cosmic, which I thought was pretty cool. I don't think he is like an all-timer Spider-Man bad guy, but I am going to rank him. I'm going to go all the way to an A because I really found him pretty compelling as a bad guy when I was first reading about him. I know Juggernaut is tangled with Spider-Man a couple times. I don't really think of him, or I wouldn't be like, I got to see Juggernaut in Spider-Man. So for that reason, he's a cool character, but he's not too high for me. So I'll give him a... Yeah, I'd rather see other guys fighting Spider-Man. I'm going to go with a D for Juggernaut. Sorry, Dakota, you probably put him higher. So I know you love the Juggernaut. And then Kingpin, I think he's a great Spider-Man bad guy. Is he an A? I don't know if he's an A. I do like seeing Kingpin. I'm going to go with A, actually. And that might be controversial because I know we've got Spidey usually coming into conflict with Daredevil, of course, but I think he's been involved with Spider-Man in many ways. But is he the all-time Spider-Man bad guy? I don't know. At least the animated series cemented their dynamic for me, so I'm gonna put him up there. Last but certainly not least, we've got Fancy Dan. I think we're thinking of maybe him as more representative of the Enforcers, which I think are kind of fun Spider-Man bad guys, more of those old school gangster types. We don't see much of them nowadays, but I've always had a soft spot for them. For that reason, I'm going to move them to, let's see which category here. I'm going to go with I'll give them a C, just because I like them. And then we'll do a final review, see if there's anything that I think should be shifted that I didn't do quite correctly. Carnage, I think he should be an A. Yeah, I'm going to go Carnage an A. The rest of these, I think I feel pretty good about. Again, my personal preference. You might feel differently, but I think this is a pretty accurate about my feelings, and I think we covered most of the Spidey that we could think of there. So that is my ranking for the Spider-Man villains tier list. Of course, in the comments below, let us know what you think, any that you disagree with, any significant villains we miss, because we always miss a couple. We'll put the tier maker in the comment or in the description for you, so you can go ahead and make your own and let us know what you came up with. So please be liking, sharing, and subscribing. And until next time, as always, stay strong.